Hello everyone, I'm Heather. I'm back for a really quick video. This one is a tag. It's the Hindsight is 2020 reader tag. It was created by Erin Go Read and I was tagged in it by Doris at Aldi Books, and it's a really good tag. It's like about you becoming a reader, like the development of you as a reader, like when you were younger and sort of your influences and things like that. And I really liked watching other people's videos, so woo, I'm excited to do it. Okay, so the first question is, what were you like as an early and learning reader? And I think I have like something in common really with this one with Doris from what she said in her one. But I remember as a kid, there were all these like separate reading groups based on ability and how quickly you were picking it up. And I was in the second from the top, and I was infuriated by that because all of my friends were in like the really good one. And like I had it in my mind that they had like a better spot in the room as well because they were by the window and like you could see stuff outside. I was just absolutely fuming. And I was in a group with a bunch of people who I thought, like, to me, were stupid. I don't know. I was 5, like 4, something like that. I don't know what was in my mind. But there were like 3 other groups. There were 5 groups, you know. So there were 3 other lower than me groups. But because I was not in the top group in my mind that was over by the window, I was just furious. I did everything in my power to become a better reader. And I eventually made it, guys. Give me a round of applause. And I think that's sort of like what's driven me on from then. Like, I forced myself to become really good at reading. And then once it was easy to do, you know, then it sort of opens up the pleasures of things and you learn that, you can get loads of fun from it. But I think if I hadn't had that like thing to push me to become one of the best readers in the class, I wouldn't have sort of opened up all of this joy. So thank you, Miss Pennington, for giving me something to push for. Okay, so the second question is, what is a book or a book series that got you really excited about reading? I think I've talked about this before in some other videos, but there were loads of them. Like, I can't even think about which one was first, really, or which one was sort of more important in my development. But I remember I was part of all of these, like, mail groups, like mail subscription things where once a month you get a book. And one of them was Babysitter's Little Sister. I was part of the Babysitter's Little Sister book club. I had a card that had my name on it. I'd signed the back. It was in my wallet. It was very important. And I think with all these sort of things coming to my house once a month, that's what's like made me obsessed with mail as well. Like this month is InCoRimo, which is International Correspondence Writing Month. And I just love mail. I love the hell out of mail. I love getting mail. I love sending mail. Just mail is a joy. And I think it was spawned, first of all, by having all these like mail book clubs that I was in. But I loved the crap out of these ones. Also, I was part of a thing where I used to get these ones in the mail. They're the Magic Attic ones. So like this one is, it's like an attic in a woman's house, and it's like magic, where these friends go there one by one and they put on outfits and look in the mirror, and then they transport to the past or like do whatever. Like, there was also this highlights thing, like 90s American Kids, where are you? Like Highlights magazine. Do you remember? They also did this thing, which was like a highlights passport thing, where they'd like send you every month a book on a country, and then loads of like different bits of stuff like from that country, like activities and like little recipes and stuff like that. I loved the crap out of those books. I don't even know where they've gone, but the loss of them still sits on me because they were amazing. I used to do like book reports, like my own sort of spurred on book reports that wasn't for any class or anything. Just I used to like sit in the dark during story time or whatever, or like during movie time in class and like write up little reports about countries because I was crazy. Also, I used to have these ones that were like the Royal Diaries. Do you know those ones? They're like each one is like a diary of a princess from a different culture from the past. And that was another thing to do with my like obsession with countries and cultures and stuff. I think that's why I'm so good at geography now. It was just always like a bit of an obsession, but I loved the crap out of those books. I had like an Elizabeth I one or whatever. Okay, the third question is there a person in your life who inspired you to be a reader? And I think I haven't really like thought about it loads until sort of starting to do booktube tags and things like this. Sort of over time, I think I've come to realize that the reason I am a reader, other than Miss Pennington putting me in the wrong group, was my dad. So my dad's always been a huge reader, just like for fun or for like, building up things. Like every time he wanted to be better at something, he'd just like buy a bunch of books and then just like work his way through them. And he has got like a sort of pure joy for reading as well. Like he's sort of on the weekend, he'd be like, Heather, what do you want to do? Should we go to the bookstore? And we just wander around the bookstore for ages. Like that's just what I used to do for fun with my dad. Us just like having coffee or cocoa or whatever and just wandering around bookstores, like used bookstores, new bookstores, book markets, you know, just we just look at books. That's like what we used to do together. And I think if I hadn't had him in my life, you know, sort of him with like this unfettered joy for reading and book collecting and everything, and sort of like giving it to me and sort of showing me how good it is and having me sort of associate so many good childhood memories with books. Like I obviously wouldn't have really been the way that I am, you know, like loads of people who aren't readers, I think a lot of time it's because, you know, their family aren't readers. None of their siblings or their parents or aunts or uncles or whatever have been into reading. So they didn't really have, you know, a lot of childhood memories to do with reading. They didn't have a lot of really good feeling toward reading. No one introduced it to them. So I feel really grateful for that, actually. Aw. Okay, the fourth question is, at what point did you begin to identify as a reader? And I think actually for me, it was really late, like weirdly late. Like probably after college that I sort of realized that actually, yeah, that's something that I do. That's sort of like my thing is reading. Before that, I think I just read a crap ton all the time, but knew loads of other people who read a crap ton all the time, and I don't know, just sort of went about my life as that's just sort of something I did. I never really thought of myself specifically as a person who's a reader. But anyway, yeah, sort of like after college, I accidentally graduated college a year early because I was just really into it. I took like full loads in summers and like extra like credits during the semesters and everything because I was really into it. And then it sort of came to the point where I had sort of reached all my credits, but I still had a year left and they were like, you've got to graduate. I was like, no. But so then for that year, I was like a bit lost. I was like, this whole time I planned to be in college and now I'm not in college. What should I do? So I just moved in with my parents and got like a part-time job and just read for that whole time. That's all I did, just like book after book after book, like in a room. All of the books that I didn't really have time to read because I was in college, you know, and like sort of putting all of my time towards studying and like working and stuff like that. But like even then, I still think I would have just been like, oh, that was my year of just reading and like doing my hobby. Like, I don't know, maybe it's not even until I started doing BookTube that I sort of started to see myself like exclusively as a reader. Do you know what I mean? I don't know, it's all a bit weird. Like I've always just sort of thought of myself as like, I don't know, reading is something I do sometimes for fun, but I do it a lot, way more than other people. I don't know, it's hard. Okay, the last question is, how has being a reader shaped your life and your worldview? And obviously that's some pretty heavy shit, isn't it? Like that's not just like, oh, this happened and then this happened and blah blah blah. It's like really existential, like deep philosophical shit, you know, to sit down and ponder over the course of months. And I will do, trust me. This is gonna sit with me for a while. But I think mainly it's sort of the more obvious reason, or the more obvious thing, which is it sort of opened me up to things that I wouldn't have experienced if I hadn't read about them, you know? So especially because I was obsessed with all these like books about cultures and countries and stuff. Loads of different things happening to people in different situations and different lives and different cultures and blah 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 that I would never have seen for myself or experienced or even known that like existed, except that I've read about them, you know. And it's sort of like made my imagination its own thing, like overpowering and out of control, you know. So it's why I can't watch horror movies or like read horror books or anything like that. Like just the ability of my mind to create its own pictures and its own scenarios just sort of take over my life. Like there's nothing I can do about it. I'm pretty sure that's due to a lifetime of reading. But also, I think weirdly, it's like really affected my empathy, you know, like my ability to empathize. I think I'm way more sort of understanding and accepting and empathetic than I would have been otherwise, just because, you know, every time sort of something happens and sort of everyone around me goes, oh, idiots, you know, selfish, blah, 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 it always sort of links back to some book I read about like that person in their shoes, you know, and like why it is that they're doing that. So like, I don't know, sort of my mind automatically puts me in the shoes of whatever person we're talking about or thinking about or whatever. And it makes it like hard for me to just throw people's opinions or behavior or whatever out as sort of irrational or, you know, like selfish or whatever. Like, I always just immediately think of a novel I read once where so-and-so, you know, was acting that way because they were frightened or scared or, you know, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, like, and because I read such different things as well, like I don't just read mysteries and sci-fi and blah, blah, blah. I just read like a loads of different kinds of stuff. I don't know, it's just sort of taken over my ability to sort of see things as black and white as well, or like to see things as objective things. Like somewhere in my history of reading books, there's been a novel where that thing was turned on its head and it's just made the whole world just extremely grey instead of black and white, which I guess is good and bad in some ways, but God knows. I'm gonna have to think about that one a bit more. I may do an update, I don't know. It's definitely gonna linger as an idea. Okay, so the very last part of it is to tag someone you want to know more about regarding their reading history. And for me, that's pretty much everyone. Like, I've read very nearly all of these 2020 reader tag videos already, and they're really good. So I think just, I know it's a bit of a cop-out and a bit stupid, but can I just tag everyone? Like, if you were watching this right now and you have had like a brain explosion about thinking about what you would have said to these, please just do the tag and then say that I tagged you, because that sounds interesting as hell. Please. Okay. Also, that's the end. If you have any comments for me, please let me know. If you have any sort of like thoughts about the books, or like if you were like me, you know, and you also were infuriated by being in the second best group, you know, like let me know. If you were a 90s American kid and you read any of these things or had Highlights magazine, also, that would be super exciting to know. Anyway, thank you for watching. I will see you next time.